I'm Daemonxel, and this is your Eve Echoes weekly news update, where we take a deep dive into all the happenings of the week. But first, if you can tag that subscribe button, ring that bell, share and like the video, you can stay up to date with everything that this channel has to offer. Now, before we get started into what is a heavy news week, I just want to make some corrections from the last video. There was a bunch of things that I did get wrong, and didn't double check some of the sources that were provided towards me. The first is going to be in the story about Nilf leaving Void. There was no allegations of racist ongoings at all. I was assured from both Void leadership as well as Nilf leadership, there was nothing racist at all that was said. Both parties do not tolerate racism at all. Void stands to reiterate, while there were of course differences between Nilf and Void, Void leadership does not believe racism was ever a factor. And in a statement from Nilf, Nilf is a massive multicultural group that has never and will never tolerate racism or anything of its ilk. They go on to say that we have had outbursts from many different members at varying degrees of inflammatory language, and they have been corrected and warned accordingly throughout the ongoing situation with Void. Neither party is innocent, and both parties are aiming to make peaceful separation and have agreed to have no hostilities of any sort during this transition. So I do want to make an apology to both parties, Nilf as well as Void, in my reporting that racism was a factor. The next apology is to Rect, R-E-C-T, where I reported that they left Pantheon due to some fracturing due to the onslaught that the war is bringing. That is actually false. They left Pantheon due to J-Factor's doxing discussion and the lack of response from Pantheon leadership to take measures against it. In an official statement, they state that our independence was due to the response or lack of from Pantheon leadership to take action regarding J-Factor's comments. Our members took the situation very seriously, with many having family of their own, and found J-Factor's comments morally reprehensible, hence where our differences in values stem from. Our members voted diplomatically on our outcome, and many knew that our moral choice to not be associated would be a hard stance to follow, but they chose to do so, and I'm very proud of each and every one of them. He goes on to say that Pantheon leadership were made aware of their independence, and that they chose not to go into those details on Reddit as it matters to them only, and the post was to notify and accommodate our former Blues who may have missed the announcement. Another small mistake I made was stating that J-Factor was a member of False Trajectory. This was false. He is a member of Legend, which is not a part of False Trajectory. Another mistake I made was by the pronunciation of the Cyrillic name of a solo kill made by a venture. I couldn't really pronounce it. I don't know how to read Cyrillic, but I was told that this name actually means dream in Russian. And I do want to make a last apology to a pilot named Wife, who did send in a solo kill mail that somehow got lost in the shuffle from last week's solo kill mail. I mean, it didn't win the contest, but I do apologize. It should have been in the counting. Now, as far as a baby update goes, he is doing a lot better. He has had a upper respiratory infection, which has been circling through the house. I'm on the tail end of it. But everyone's doing better. Everyone's got their medicine. He's still rolling around like a champ, drooling on everything. So, yeah, he's doing great. Now, as we roll into the patch notes for October 27th, there really wasn't any. All we have is basically the updated estimated prices based on successful transactions in the market. You know, the one that happens every single week. We got that. But there was one fix that they fixed. It was that they fixed an issue where the nanocore screen couldn't be accessed at various times. So they repaired that so people can actually access that menu now. However, we will be receiving a huge update next week on the 3rd. It is a titled update called Escalation. This is the culmination of all the capital events that are going on, and this is where they're going to release capitals into the game proper. Now, on a special page, they are giving information about this update, what we can expect to see from capitals. That is the carriers and the dreadnoughts. Now, there are some restrictions based on these ships, one of which cannot enter high sec at all. You can fly these in low sec, you can fly these in null sec, however you cannot enter high sec by any means. Now, another restriction on these capital ships, they cannot dock at capsular outposts. They can only dock at corporation citadels and NPC stations. Now, another thing is insurance for these ships will not be 100%. Insurance will only cover 20% of the estimated value of the ship. So basically, in long terms, you're going to be paying 80% to get your ship back if you do lose it. Now, with this update, we're going to get all the capital modules, as well as the riggings for these capital ships. Also, the corresponding skills to pilot and build these capital ships will also be introduced in this patch. Now, with this patch, we're also going to get Sinos. Now, if you're not familiar with Sinaural jumps, they work basically like this. It allows you to skip whole systems when traveling as a fleet. There will be one ship who will light the beacon using the Sino Field Generator. Now, when using this module, it's going to consume a lot of fuel, and upon activation, it becomes a beacon which can be searched by other pilots of the same fleet. Ships fitted with a jump drive, when requirements are met, these ships will be able to jump directly to that beacon where that ship is. Now, if you're wondering why is this a good thing, in EVE Online, these would be fitted to covert ops ships, and it'd be for getting a massive fleet behind enemy lines through bypassing several gate camps, or directly right on top of a fleet that is making a defense or for an attack. So basically, you fly your ship in, you light the beacon, and then everyone hits their jump drive, and everyone just basically lands right there on the grid for the fight. Now, two structures are also going to be coming into play this week. That would be the Sino Beacon Tower, as well as the Sino Jammer Tower. Now, as you can see, they work towards the names. The Beacon Tower itself will basically make a beacon in your system, so you can use it as a rally point. So if you have a Corp Citadel maybe several systems away, well, you have this beacon in your system, they can just jump right to the system, bypassing those other systems. Same thing with the Jammer. You put up a jamming tower, no other enemy fleet can basically jump into your system. So it kind of is a protective measure. Now, I did receive these infographics for both the dreadnoughts as well as the carriers. Unfortunately, they are in Chinese. I did pester the devs to try and give me English variations of these. However, again, deaf ears. So, as you can see with each one of these, it gives you basically what you're going to need to build the ship. And you're just going to have to match up the picture with the inline picture in-game to know exactly what you're going to be building. Unless you can read, Chinese, and then you're all set. Now, also with the capital ships, there will be a new anomaly for null systems if there is a capital in that system. This basically allows you to jump to this anomaly, enter the anomaly, and instead of just regular pirate waves, you're also going to get pirate capital waves to fight. So it's kind of like the NDS that we're in now, the low and high void spaces. However, it's not going to be called that. It's just going to be an anomaly in the system. And this is how you're going to get your capital modules as well as your debris moving forward. And since we're talking about those low and high void spaces, these are new anomalies that were added since the last episode. Now, these basically work like Nihilist Dead Spaces. You enter in, you have the covert room. When you go to the covert room, there's going to be battleships, there's going to be battle cruisers, but there's also going to be an elite capital ship there. On the low ones, you're going to have capital dreadnoughts. On the high voids, you're going to have capital carriers. Now, these are the only way you're going to be able to get currently the capital modules as well as capital debris to reverse engineer to get those blueprints to start pumping out these capitals. But there was an issue when they first released these, and they were aware that they couldn't be scanned successfully. They held up the program. They did a hot fix, and they also gave everyone 30,000 skill points and extended the duration of the event by another 72 hours. Now, I went in here and tried to do it solo myself. Let me just tell you, it's not really possible in a Hyperion solo. I got into the covert room, got hit twice by the Dreadnought, and I just turned around and left. Unfortunately, I didn't have a group to fly in to take out the void space at that time. But, you know, they can be sold. I have had reports of people soloing these, not only in faction battlecruisers. There was a report of a Macario and a Rattlesnake that was able to clear up the entire low void. It took them about an hour and a half. Basically what it is, you just have to get in underneath the guns of the Dreadnought and it won't be able to hit you. I also have reports of an entire fleet of interceptors taking out a low void space. It was an entire group of interceptor Condor 2s, and they basically effectively just speed tanked the entire anomaly. Now, there are some changes in your Plex marker report this week. Plex is on the rise, and you can expect it to keep kind of going up there with the advent of capitals. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to buy up Plex so they can reskill to possibly build and possibly fly these behemoths. Currently, it's trading at 1.3 million per Plex. There have been reports of it going up to as high as 1.5 million per Plex, but it has settled back down to 1.3. Now, as far as the war report, the war does not fare well for Pantheon currently at this time, who is looking fractured due to the onslaught of attacks that have happened over the last week. As of Monday the 25th, No Please Stop captured, with silent, no, SHHNOHONK, let's just go there, has captured 7 citadels on Monday alone. 2 of their pre-existing citadels have been repaired, and they destroyed 2 citadels. The ones destroyed this past week was that of ATL and N8D9 Tech Z, as well as BRAH and YQX TAC 7U. The captured citadels are CX8 TAC 6K, captured by Kofer, 7 Tech K6UE, taken by DN of No. The next one was GTAC M5L3, that was taken by HLRC. C3N TAC 3S, that was taken by SRCP of No. AF TAC TK3, which captured by DHW of Silent Alliance. QY1E TAC N was captured by XTRL of No. BTAC 7DFU was captured by BKRN of Silent. And UEXO TAC Z was taken by PEW or Pew by No. Now remember, that was just Monday. The following day, they captured another 4 citadels and destroyed another one, as well as having 5 of their previous citadels that they captured fully repaired. Now, there were 2 fights that were successful in fending off the No attack, and that was of systems CHA2 TAC Q, where the enemy did defend and push No off the citadel, as well as BX TAC VEX, where the enemy also defended that citadel. Of the citadels captured on this day, UTAC HYZN was taken by VLT, APM TAC 6K was taken by Silent Alliance, 90 TAC ORX was taken by Silent Alliance, and A8 TAC XBW was also taken by Silent Alliance. To compound all this, the supreme leader of Pantheon Alliance, Sun Banana, has been taken out of the picture, unfortunately, due to real-life illness. And whereas the game is the game and real life is real life, we do wish Sun Banana a speedy recovery to come back to the game. Now, with all of this, you could basically say that Pantheon is the Titanic that just hit the iceberg, because several entities, as well as pilots, have already garnered the lifeboats and are paddling away. Now, the first to leave, which I found out was DBL, has basically left Pantheon and reset standings to come out of the war. The next have been longtime allies. Trimark Industries has left Pantheon, resetting them to gray. Now, in a massive thread on Reddit, they go into exactly why they left. Apparently, the decision from Pantheon's top down, as well as having a leadership shakeup, the choice to defend was made not to defend allies, but everyone to defend their own space. Trimark states that they did not jump ship, they stuck with their team and helped any defenses that they could. That they were made uncomfortable by this decision by the leadership, but they prized loyalty to their allies above everything else. They go on to say that they've seen key members of Pantheon leadership step down or leave the coalition for various reasons, along with many inline members and even whole corporations. In the last 24 hours, a rapid acceleration of this started to occur. The traditional military and diplomatic administrative leaders of Pantheon were leaving. Most of the major alliances in the coalition have been fragmented, with huge amounts of players turning neutral, leaving Pantheon to join Genesis, or even joining the enemy, Silent, or Honk. They even state that Happy Bees themselves, the figurative heart of the coalition, have had significant numbers leave and a new leadership team being put in place. As a result, Happy Bees are remodeling themselves as a purely war-focused force that does not have any space and instead is devoted to burning the North. Basically, they're going to be space pirates with no solve. It's a long read. I'm going to put the link to the thread in the description below, but to break it down in simple terms, they loved Pantheon and wanted to stick around with Pantheon until the end, but almost everyone else was gone. Pantheon is not really Pantheon anymore. We are pulling out of the war and going neutral, but we aren't going to work against any of their allies. We want to keep good relationships in the future, whether that translates to in-game bluing or not. In just a few hours of recording this, Das Boop also states that they are going to be leaving the war and exiting Pantheon. Boop, Beer, and Wuhan Trade Federation are all setting everyone gray and removing themselves from Pantheon. They want it known, as per this post, that the alliances of Boop, Beer, and WTF will be resetting their standings with all entities in the game back to neutral. They will be working with their close neighbors in Fountain to continue a peaceful neighborhood exchange with local blue status for those that wish it, but will not participate in any way with the current conflict that has engulfed most of the Fountain Delve regions. They want it known that, as customary, if people need to move ships or assets from their space, they'll be more than happy to support this, offering temporary blue status for pilots involved so they can get their ships and their assets out of their facilities. They also want to thank everyone for the last 11 months of enjoyment, content, and friendship building. The decision wasn't arrived lightly, and sincerely believe that it is in the best interest of everyone's continued enjoyment of the game that they exit. Another big alliance within Pantheon, Mars, will also be leaving Pantheon, and instead will be sort of breaking apart, with a few of the corporations and members setting standings to gray, remaining independent, or even joining other gray alliances not involved in this war. And the portion of Mars that's staying together wish them all the best love, respect, and well wishes. The majority of Mars will be actually joining and merging into Genesis Federation to continue the fight alongside their longtime allies and friends. They also want it known that to symbolize their move and the different pilots represented, they are going to be leaving behind the name Mars and will be born anew, flying under a new banner yet to be announced. Now, they've talked about leadership being restructured and Topsy leaving. Now let's delve into that. There was a statement put out by Psylocke of Goon that basically goes into exactly what was happening, where he basically lets Goon their priorities of both Topsy and himself, and that was that the Happy Bees will fall under new leadership as they both plan to leave. They both thought about staying, They put a lot of energy into helping CTAs, helping the Alliance grow, and our pilots and their pilots having space to have fun. But they say that they've been disappointed in seeing people that have led roles in the Alliance not step up to help the Alliance in a time that they must. They say that multiple entities have reached out to them, and he doesn't want to force anyone to make a move again into, unknown territory. But no, as well as other alliances, including Pantheon ones, asking if they would reform with them. They feel that getting back to basics is key from this point. Then they lay out a roadmap of what they want to see happen in the future, what they plan on doing. They're going to be living in an NPC station in ZTAC NIP. It's a PvE 10 system with level 10s, 9, and 8s surrounding. There's going to be a PPK plan being put together. They're going to try and gain missions for their members, secure deep system mining, ore buyback, small gang PvP. They want to rebuild SOV. They want to plan to grow a small block alliance with none other than STJ and Topsy. So STJ, a few weeks ago, moved from Pantheon over to Genesis. Looks like he will now be leaving Genesis to join Psylocke and Topsy in this endeavor. He goes on to basically say that it's a road full of unknowns. They don't know what to expect from the future, and they hope to have members join them in this, and that they want them to enjoy the game. They are going to be moving out to Amencia. Now, I was given a Excel spreadsheet snippets of members of Pantheon who are leaving to form new corporations, new alliances, where they're going to be moving, whether to Geminate, to Impasse. Some of this information is already outdated. As we see in one of the screenshots, it says that S.N. Carter will be staying with Pantheon. He has actually already switched over to Noir within Genesis. However, after that announcement went out to Goons, Sun Banana of Goon also laid out some announcements himself, saying that he's being flooded with PMs, and apparently there's a statement about leadership not properly communicating things down, which was a surprise to him. He basically says that Topsy was a part of Pantheon leadership and a part of the FC room within the Discord, and he was actively coordinating with others, planning the steps which they took over the last few weeks. Those steps being down-leveling all Corporation Citadels to level 1 and focusing on northern raids to burn the north. Now, this plan is actually upheld as well by Genesis, but we're going to get into that after we deal with Pantheon. He's basically writing this to clearly show everyone that everyone had full access. He's not trying to single out anyone or finger point, but he wants everyone to know that everyone was part of the discussion. But he is upset and irked by the decision to leave in this way and convince a lot of other people of Goon to follow him based on the statement. And he basically goes on to confirm that for everyone that wants to stay, yes, you can stay. We are not officially moving, but there are people separating. To everyone who is separating, I wish you a lot of fun and only the best on your path. To everyone who is staying, I want to say that we are restructuring leadership at the moment with Mackenzie and Aaron stepping up. He is sick. He basically goes into saying how he's sick and that he's not going to be able to help currently. It's always bad when sickness actually overtakes things, and when things of this magnitude happen at this juncture. Now, I was forwarded some early numbers before Elson left leadership to join Genesis. DBL and NLD, those are two corporations that left early on. Those were about 200 in-game tunes left from Pantheon. Trimark was also, they stated, about 500 in-game tunes total left. At that point, that was before Das Boop left, that was before Mars left. In my opinion, Pantheon has been shattered. They are broken, they are fractured, they are falling apart. However, they are restructuring, they are going to be pulling together, but it will be a former, it'll be a shell of its former self. Now, we move to Genesis, who is now also going to be the primary focus of this war now that Pantheon is fracturing. I have an official statement from Marmosaurus Rex about what's going forward. I also have information stating that they are doing the same plan. They are de-leveling all of their citadels down to level 1. They are heading up raids in the north to hit timers and take the fight to know and silence home systems. The official statement I received from Armosaurus Rex is that Genesis Federation is about the people and not the things. This has always been our way. We believe that to truly enjoy this game, you have to experience all the different ways the game can be played and enjoy this sandbox that it was created by the developers. The stated win conditions of our enemies, which we will be getting to soon, are a consistent moving target of demands and justifications that sift over the winds of Reddit faster than they can be read and digested. But the truth is that the apparent goal, based on actual in-game actions taken, is for our communities to break up. This makes it an impossible war to win. They can blow up citadels, they can shoot ships, but at the end of the day, they can only serve to unite us further. The reality is that we are seeing burnout across the board, reds and blues. As I've said from the beginning, another server war so soon after the last is not something the player base can bounce back from. We at Genesis can't dictate what our enemies or our allies do, but we will be there for our allies, and we will engage in the game in the best way we know how. We don't care about the pixels, we are always in it for the people. The last time, many of the same enemies mocked us for letting our space go dark, and we saw how that worked out for them. We lived in the darkness of our regions for more than half a year while our enemies crowed in our defeat. But we never lost people or power. Everything we built in terms of pixels, we built in 2 months' time of half peace. This is easy for us because we have the amazing and hardworking group that we have. At the end of the day, we make them to break them, and that is what we do. If our enemies want to group up so large and on so many fronts that they block us out from our systems again, so be it. I hope they are in it for the really long haul, because we are, and will find a way to make it fun. And in a recent announcement, they do acknowledge that the coalition of Pantheon is falling. They state that there are so many things happening right now with the fall of our friends' coalition in Pantheon that they just want to touch on a couple of things. One, that we will stand with whoever is still prepared to fight. We do not abandon our friends. 2, any alliance who surrenders is instantly milked by extortion. This will never be us. I'll burn down our citadels myself excuse me, before I pay a penny. Every citadel we own is already rebuilt within hangars. We cannot be hurt, really. I will never pay the people who are intentionally breaking this player base as long as I have any say in it. If we sit in the dark, we will be there together. And number 3, you guys and gals are amazing with the damage you have been dealing out all day, every day. We can't control structure losses with overwhelming numbers, but we know war, and we know what this is like for the long haul. The thing that strikes me that most of this is how much fun you all are having. I'm so proud of this group, as always. Now, the extortion that they're talking about is the win conditions put forth by SHHNOHONK. The conditions for which no will stop any aggressions will be 1, you remove blue with Pantheon and Genesis. Number 2, you give an official statement, such as we've seen on Reddit by DasBoop, by Trimark. And they're basically saying that all stations previously captured will be transferred back to you for half the price if they have not yet been lowered to the first level. We do not require any taxes, military payments, or other things. You do not need to leave the place where you live either. I am writing this message because I heard of a lot of lies that we supposedly needed a tribute. This is not so. The only situation on which we can start bargaining is if you decide to stop hostilities at the moment when your stations are in structure. In any other case, we are only interested in removing the blue status. Now, Colt has also gone on record saying that he wrote this one because he was tired of answering the same question, what should we do to make no stop? I just outlined for everyone what needs to be done. If you don't like it, you can shove your discontent up your ass, and I will outlive your... Basically, that's what he says. Moving forward, those are the terms. However, we have seen that these terms have been changing over the last 24 to 48 hours. After groups have basically bowed out, they were contacted saying that by No, that all groups exiting the war are going to be charged an exit fee. This covers the cost associated with the war and ensuring that we no longer target your structures. In fact, a member of No actually went on record saying that he read the taxation part as active income and basically as active tribute that's going to continue continuously for allowing them to exist outside of the war. Alondra elaborates more on this, saying that for Pantheon groups, the charge would be $6.4 billion for each level 1 citadel and $12.7 billion for each level 2 citadel. And that's not what they'd like to arrange for Catch-22, as they were not a major aggressor in this fight. But then again, Dragon Viper goes on record saying that we haven't given any price yet. As to Colt's statement, it was an unauthorized statement. We apologize for that and the confusion it caused. We had to leave a meeting today to get all leadership and Diplo on the same page so that we have a unified team now. Prices will not change from now onwards. This was our first and only hiccup in our history as a mercenary corporation. We were not expecting everyone to be told to fold so soon. We have been caught off guard and haven't been able to discuss as a group just till recently. 6 different time zones is not easy to coordinate. However, how is that possible when Colt is the overall leader of No? So wouldn't he have the final say on exactly what gets put out and what does not get put out? Definite food for thought. And anyways, we will see how this moves on over the next week with these fees and how the fight progresses on the scale moving forward. Alright, this is an update to the previous stated war record. Today is Monday, and the initial recording that I made was on Friday. Unfortunately, I was planning on getting the video out for Saturday, but family happened and then Halloween weekend. But regardless, there have been some major updates that happened over the weekend, which we're going to jump into. First of all, Pantheon is no more. That's right, it's now defunct. It has joined the groups of Op Force, Terran Federation, Golden Horde in that big coalition alliance in the sky. So just after a year of them being together, they have fractured and bit the bullet, and has been officially dissolved by Pantheon leadership. In the same vein of Pan-Gen 22, now that Pantheon is gone, Catch-22 also puts out a message to the community stating that they have decided to exit the war that they were dragged into. They didn't want to be part of it, but they were dragged into due to defending allies, and in doing so, they have reset all of their standards to all of their allies as well. So Pan-Gen 22 is no longer. Catch-22 still exists in its own individualism. And another twist to the Catch-22 negotiated exit from the war has been well-known leadership member Durk, who has now switched sides and gone over to No. There was a slight rumor that he did so, in fact, to lower the reparations and payments needing to be made by Catch-22 for exiting the war with Silent and No. However, I am told that this is only that, it is just rumors, and that he moved over by his own volition and not forced to do so. And Genesis still stands after absorbing a lot of the corporations and members that have left the now defunct Pantheon. And now No and Silent have set their sights on breaking Genesis itself. Now, I know I've spoken before about the message put out by Colt about how there was going to be no exit tax, no military payments, no reparations paid for the war. Apparently, they are retconning that. They are stating that Colt did not have the authorization to put out that message to the public, and that it was to be decided by all of No and Silent. And Silent is now basically saying that there is payments to be made for being part of the war and exiting the war. If you want to be out of it, there are payments to be made. So what does that mean? Well, now that Catch-22 is out of the way and Pantheon is no more, the last phase of this war, I guess the end game you would call it, would be ramping up now in a war against the behemoth that is Genesis versus SHHNOHONK forces across all of their regions. And as stated before, the battle plan on the Genesis side is basically de-leveling all the citadels, so there is nothing to take over, and just applying raids and sorties north to burn down the citadels of their enemies. Whether this strategy will help them moving forward is yet to be seen. However, their raids are doing a bit of damage to those not on the warfront, with an interceptor roam just the other night netting a total profit or net damages of 39 billion in ship loss. Now these aren't just mining vessels, these are also faction battleships such as Nightmares, Macarials. Now with these attacks in the north, I don't know if there's any home defenses planned, so we will have to wait to see exactly how everything plans out. But once the full might of SHHNOHONK starts to bear on top of Genesis, we'll have to see if they buckle underneath the weight. As a follow-up story to the war currently going on with Catch-22 now that they are gray, they did go into their apology stating, or their statement about why they're graying, and how they've been fighting a war to the east. That would be the war with OG. And I got some information that wanted to expand on that, especially since on the last episode we showed the screenshot and talked about Alex Vanna's description of the war and how everything got started. Now I was contacted by Haploy, basically saying that when we did talk on the last episode about the situation with C-22 and Warp and how they fought internally with DLT and disbanded, it sounded like that was the reason for the war. And he goes on to say that it was not the reason. So as far as Warp goes, they stated that there was some difficulties between both DLT and Warp, and that Warp hunted them for a while and fought them, all with ACR's knowledge and approval. And then after a bit, they issued an apology, DLT did, and Warp stopped the hostilities. Not only that had nothing to do with the Warp disbanding, but also that DLT apologized, ending that situation. So that was not the situation that it created. But I also got a counterpoint from OG stating that the post from Alex Vanna was pretty misleading in OG's motivations for the war. They state that SCG claimed all of Terran Finalis after the Warp collapse. This was known by Catch-22 and specifically FRA, who dropped that citadel. Basically saying that that taunted SCG to come retake their space. OG states that they were under the impression that SCG gained a non-invasion pact with the entirety of the Pantheon 22 coalition, and that OG was told by Catch-22 later that this wasn't the case. SCG English leadership had reached out to Catch-22 pursuing a non-invasion pact, and Catch-22 rejected that offer, not SCG. They basically say that they also have screenshots of that interaction if we need them shown. After this story, I'm hoping to put this whole thing to bed, to tell you the truth, unless there's more advances in that war going on. But let's go back to that. But OG claims that Catch-22 recognized SCG's claims on Teneferis, and they dropped the Citadel regardless, and then FRA taunted them with the dropping of that Citadel, and that SCG saw that pretty much as a declaration of war, especially considering the past issues they had between FRA. Now, OG specifically has a defensive pact with SCG and is contractually obligated to defend them from invasion. That said, OG and the Eastern Alliances have no interest in causing the collapse of Catch-22 or anything like that. Basically, it never says that it was probably a mistake. Catch-22 in the past has had a hard time controlling FRA, in their opinion. OG states that they've told Catch-22 as well as Genesis that their war goal was 200 billion in structured damages, or at any time Catch-22 can apologize to SCG and pay 20 billion in reparations. The payment has nothing to do with the memory of Warp. Catch-22 dropped the Citadel in SCG's claimed space, and that was seen as an act of war by the Eastern Alliances. And also that they were bored. Unfortunately, this week there is no spotlight for Corporation or Alliances, and before we get into the big kills, I do want to single out some nice kills that have been done in orthodox manners. Now, last episode we did cover a pilot who flies primarily Venture 3s and the amount of kill mails that he got in those Venture 3s. Now, another pilot would be the holy ship from Honk, who flies nothing but explorer ships. And as you can see from the screenshots, he is the little frigate that can, who will eventually kill you. It just makes you think that when people say that not every ship is viable for warfare, you have to think again and reevaluate exactly how you are flying your ship. And the other one goes out to It's a Small World, the player that I got wrong last week, because I can't read Cyrillic, so therefore I couldn't pronounce it, whose name means dream. Well, he did it again this week. This time he decided to kill a outpost when he was in a venture. Now, he will be on the solo kill mail contest as well, as you're going to see. However, I did want to single him out here for exactly what he did. Now, we did hear from the pilot who said it took him maybe about an hour and a half to kill that outpost within this ship. So, a special salute out to him. And now we come to the big kills of the week. Leading us off is Revs with a 5.9 billion Vindicator. 6 Steel Alliance puts the work in this week with 5 Rattlesnakes, the highest at 8.3 billion. A Nightmare at 5.1 billion. A Charon Freighter at 15.1 billion. A 3.5 billion Covetor 2. We have 4 Macarials, one at 4.6, one at 5.2, one at 4.8, and the last at 5.5. We have a 3.4 billion APOC Striker kill. We have 2 Orthrus kills, one at 5.1 billion, the other at 5.9 billion. We have a Maelstrom at 4 billion, a Balgorn at 6.6, a Stratios at 6.7, and 1 Abaddon at 3.2. No comes in with 2 kills this week, a 6.9 billion Balgorn and a 4.7 billion Nightmare kill. Catch-22 gives us a 3.1 billion Ferox kill. Nomadic Nightmares gives us a 5 billion Nightmare kill and a 5.9 Stratios kill. Genesis comes up with a 3.3 billion Typhoon 2 kill, 7 Macarials, the highest at 6 billion. We have a 3.4 billion Procurer, a 2 Rattlesnakes, one at 4.4, the other at 5.7. We have 1 Nightmare kill at 5.6, a Balgorn kill at 6.1, and a Vindicator kill at 5.8. True Orbit has a 6.8 billion Myrmidon 2 command kill. I think that's the first time one of these ships has graced the show. Wolf comes in with a Macaro kill at 4.6 billion. VLTV with a 6.7 billion Macario kill. TSC with a 5 billion Macario kill. Silent Alliance comes with 2 Raven Strikers, one at 3.2, the other at 3.4. A 5.3 billion Balgorn kill, and a 3 billion Rock kill. And, save the best for last, Void Alliance gives the server first Barghest kill at 26.4 billion. Look at it, it's obscene. That person, I don't know what they were doing in that space. Obviously yeeting. I have heard rumors that it was part of a faction battleship fleet, and obviously if I saw a Barghest with a faction battleship, I would focus in on that kill myself as well. Now, we move into the solo kill of the week, everyone's favorite, a chance to win a free Omega combo, and there's been great participation this week. We had 26 entries in for the contest, and these are your top 10. Oh, also, before we start the solo kills of the week, a poll: do you think we should raise the big kills of the week from 3 billion up to maybe 4 billion or 5 billion? Let me know in the comments what you think, if we should raise that, because we're getting so many entries now. So, your top 10 kills of the week, Starting us off is M1A1 with a 2.6 billion outpost kill. Dryoma, which means dream. This is the Cyrillic name that I couldn't pronounce last week, with a 2.9 billion outpost kill. We have Colonel Nira with a 3.118 billion APOC striker kill. Yari Jack with a 3.194 billion magnet covert ops kill. Great Gold gives us a 3.5 billion Terra kill. Vetemune with a 4.2 billion Condor Interceptor 2 kill. Punisher gives us a 4.7 Nightmare kill. Alvachi, sorry, I butchered that, with a 6.4 billion Vindicator kill. Noxmaster with a 7.4 billion Macario kill. And the winner this week of a free Omega combo is Pillar Hammer with a 9.1 billion Nereus 2 kill. Congratulations on winning the contest. Hit me up on Discord and we'll be able to get that prize out to you. Now, if you need more news in your life, I recommend that you go over and check out the various outlets such as Sky News, Russia's premier news broadcast channel. Now, the show is in Russian, but they do have a great production team over there, and it usually takes about a day or so, but each of the episodes will be in English subtitles. Also, you have the ever-popular Rambo's Echoes of New Eden podcast, with roundtable discussions every week, as well as an in-depth interview with a prominent figure from the community. Now, I hope you had a great holiday, have a great week, have a great weekend, fly safe, and remember, we are always one vision, one purpose, one front.